Let's talk quarterbacks. Do we feel better or worse coming out of spring? What do we think the starter is going to put up numbers-wise, touchdowns, yards? Let's grade the position for this year and for the future on today's Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. However you're finding us, wherever you're getting this, maybe you're just, chilling down the road, headed to the corner bar to get some cheese curds and a cold one. If that's how you're finding the podcast, that's incredible. I am Ryan Herrings, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers bet $5. If your $5 bet wins, you get 200 in bonus bets over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's talk quarterbacks. So what we're going to do on Locked On Badgers, we're going to break down every single position coming out of spring. We're going to do kind of a depth chart overview, the recruiting rankings behind them. We're going to do a bit of superlatives, like what's the most exciting player in this group? Who am I most excited to see? What's the safest player? Who's the most likely NFL guy? We're going to do we feel better or worse coming out of spring? We're going to do grades for this season, what we think this position's at, and for the future. So it's going to be a fun Locked On Badgers as we kind of go through the positions following spring football. Spring practice is over. Now we have listen, we have football recruiting at least to keep us busy, but we got a minute now before we get more like football news. So let's it's a good time to zoom out, right? Take a snapshot, look at the strategic battlefield. Where are we at? And let's start quarterbacks. It's the most important position on the field. We all know that. People always talk about sidetrack here, but in the political landscape, like, oil is the most valuable resource in the world, or crude metals, or this or that, or plutonium. No, it's quarterbacks. Like, there's like 7 good quarterbacks on the planet, and there's 7 billion people. It's the most important spot on the field, the most important spot on this team. Let's talk about it. Let's start depth chart. So seniors, they have Tyler Van Dyke coming over from Miami. There is no junior on this roster. The sophomore is Braedyn Locke. He's originally a 4-star player. Redshirt freshman Cole LaCrue, 3-star player. And in the freshman class, they have Mabrey Mettauer, a 3-star guy, and the walk-on Milos Spasovic from Minnesota. So that's the quarterback room. 2 4-stars, 2 3-stars, and a preferred walk-on. And then in the 2025 class, they have Landon Locke, Braedyn Locke's younger brother, coming in. He is a current 3-star, although I'm interested to see where that ranking goes after he gets senior film out, playing at the level he plays at. I think he could end up as a 4-star. Okay, so what did we see in the spring? That's the depth chart. You have Tyler Van Dyke, Braedyn Locke, Cole LaCrue, and then Mabrey and Milos Spasovic. Well, what we saw in spring, to me, was one of probably the bigger surprises of spring. There's very few people, and I want to give Playmaker, who's on the Discord, Curtis Holland, good friend of the show, really sharp dude. I want to give him some credit. I think he was legit the first person, media or not, that came out and said, I think there's going to be a quarterback battle here. People are too quick to just write off Braedyn Locke and pencil in Tyler Van Dyke. He was right. That was one of the biggest surprises of the entire spring for me, not just at the quarterback spot, for any spot. I think we all just assume Van Dyke is coming here. He's got the howitzer arm. He's got the big size. He's coming from Miami. Well, he's not coming here if he's not going to be the starter. And while he still likely will be the starter, the fact that there was a competition was very surprising. So that's really the big storyline out of spring that we saw. Do we feel better or worse about this position coming out of spring? Nick Evers obviously started in spring. He transferred out. That's why we didn't list it on the depth chart. That being said, I think we feel better. Or I feel better, I should say. I don't want to speak for anyone else. I feel better. And I feel better for a reason I talked about before. I think you have 2 quarterbacks that weren't in a quarterback battle because they were both severely lacking. I think you have 2 quarterbacks that were in a quarterback battle because they both played pretty well, right? You have Tyler Van Dyke, who it sounds like turned it on, was able to kind of probably inch ahead in the quarterback battle, started showcasing the tools that he has in his tool set. But you have Braedyn Locke, who really has made it a battle up to this point, and the battle's not over. I think this is potentially a situation where you have 2 guys who you can both win with, which means, A, you have a really good backup, and you need a really good backup at the quarterback spot. But it also means I think your starter has to push himself a little bit more, and I think that's valuable. There's been too many situations at a lot of positions at Wisconsin. Linebacker, last year, I don't know if we had anybody to really push a Daryl Peterson. At times at running back, at times in cornerback and safety, where players, the starters aren't necessarily pushed. I think having Braedyn, Locke nipping at Tyler Van Dyke's heels is a really good thing, and vice versa. I think they're going to push each other. I think that means more good reps for the second string offense as well, which only helps. So I feel better coming out of spring than I did going into it, because going into it, I just kind of assumed Tyler Van Dyke's going to be the guy by default. I think he came in as he was, kind of as advertised, and he's still at the battle for it because I think Braedyn, Locke got better. So I feel better about it. And then I also like that Mabrey Mettauer has gotten a lot of reps. With Nick Evers, I don't want to say out of the way, like pushed out the door, but certainly he wasn't getting the reps he thought he should get. And a lot of those reps ended up going to Mabrey Mettauer. Now, the only thing that bummed me out was Cole LaCrue, who I love Cole LaCrue. He's been on the show multiple times. I like the film in high school. I think he's good enough to play at this level. He just hasn't been able to get healthy. So that bums me out. This would have been a huge spring for him. And now he's just continuing to fall further and further behind. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter really how good you are if you can't play and you can't rep it and you can't practice it. And the players that get the reps are only going to increase that divide, right? The more reps, Braedyn Locke is a sponge. Let's be real. Make no mistake about it. The more reps he gets, the sharper he's going to get. He is that axe on the Vikings cutting wheel, the stone wheel, where they're just sharpening it like, right? Braedyn Locke is just going to continue to get sharper. And the fact that you're not getting reps as Cole LaCrue really for the second year in a row, I don't know how you're going to catch up. And I say that as one of the biggest Cole LaCrue fans out there. I know JB's out there, but I love Cole LaCrue. I love the mentality. I love the swagger, but I don't think it's going to happen if you can't get healthy. And I think the other guys are putting too much distance between them. But ultimately, again, that portion of it bummed me out. But ultimately, I feel better about the quarterback spot. I think the biggest storyline was that quarterback battle. And I like the fact that I think we have two guys who we can win with. All right, we're going to take a quick break for our friends of the show. We're going to come back. We're going to talk superlatives. Most exciting player, most likely to be the NFL guy, highest floor, player I'm most excited to see. We're going to talk about all of that and more on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel remains the number one source for all of your sports betting needs. This is where we go on the Locked On Network, right? Parlays, futures, teasers, spreads, it's all there over at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to spend on whatever you want. If you want to use it on point spreads, use it on teasers, use it on futures for the Greg Gard-led Badgers basketball team. If you think they're going to make a run next year with this transfer portal run or this transfer portal influx of talent, that's what you can do over at FanDuel. That's why we use it. It's fast, it's simple, it's easy. It is the number one sports book for the Locked On Network. There's a reason we go to it. Again, you don't want to mess around. Just have something easy, simple, fun, safe. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Do it responsibly, but FanDuel.com/LockedOn. All right, let's do some superlatives for the quarterback spot. Let's do the official depth chart prediction. Listen, I think this one's pretty simple, right? I think it's Van Dyke, it's Locke, it's Mettauer. And again, it's Cole LaCrue, unfortunately, just being kind of stuck in the injury abyss. Do I think Braedyn Locke is going to continue to push Van Dyke? Yes, I do. Do I think he's going to push him far enough where he's going to be the starter week one? No, I don't. I think this is going to be Van Dyke's job. I've always thought it would be Van Dyke's job. I didn't think it would be this much of a competition, but I think ultimately at the end, listen, it's the combination of size, of physicality, of arm strength, and of experience winning out. And the more we talked about the reps with Braedyn Locke, like the more reps he gets, the sharper he gets, like the axe on the old grinding wheel. Listen, the more reps Tyler Van Dyke gets in this Wisconsin offense, this version of Phil Longo's offense with these weapons, the more snaps he takes from Renfro, the more times he throws to Will Pong, the sharper he's going to get here too, and the more comfortable he's going to feel. Yes, he should have that experience already. He shouldn't need those reps as much, but it's still a different system. It's still a different town. It's different coaches, different receivers. It still takes a while to build that familiarity and that comfort level. It's like anything. It's no different than you go to a new office in whatever profession you have. It takes a minute to gear up, even if you know the job in and out. So I think the more reps he gets, the more he's going to start to slowly open up that divide between him and Braedyn Locke. But again, I feel really good about this. And then the third stringer is going to be Mabrey Mettauer. Worst case, the first two go down. How big of how much trouble are we in? Maybe he's got physical tools, and he was able to enroll early in spring as a third string quarterback. I think you can do way worse. You're not going to win many tough games right out the chute with a guy who doesn't have that much of experience. But as a third string quarterback, I think you feel pretty good there as well. So I like the depth chart. I'm pretty good with it. Let's go into some quarterback some quarterback superlatives. All right. Most athletic. That's Mabrey. That's Mabrey Mettauer. Although I will say, I don't think, and again, we're going to do these superlatives for every position. So some of these positions it's going to be a lot of fun to pick out most athletic, that's kind of stuff. I think Tyler Van Dyke is an underrated athlete. I think Mabrey Mettauer physically is the most naturally gifted athlete in this group. But when you start combining athleticism is a combination of your size, right? Your arm strength, your speed. Tyler Van Dyke's got an NFL arm. He's got a better arm, probably pure strength than Mabrey Mettauer. Size, Van Dyke's a big dude, and he can move. I just don't think he's quite as quick as Mabrey. I don't think he gets up to speed as quickly. So I think Mabrey's probably the most athletic. But I will say this, and I've said this before, I think Tyler Van Dyke is an extremely underrated athlete. People look at him, and I think people have this image like he's Dante Culpepper back there in the pocket, like kind of a big pocket passer with a giant arm, but doesn't really move much. He is not Dante Culpepper. Like he's got a lot of, I'm trying to think of maybe a comp, kind of a bigger, faster, more rumbling quarterback, but he's got some juice to him. He can get up to speed. We talked to Brady Collins about this. Brady Collins talked about it. He's got another gear, and we saw it on film as well. Like I think there is a pretty good athlete there, and I think there's going to be moments this season where he just surprises the ever living heck out of an opposing defense and opposing fan base. He's going to rumble for 20 yards. He's going to, on a 3rd and 11, pick up 13. I think he's going to give us an element of this offense that Tanner Mordecai had last year, but with a bigger arm. But yeah, most athletic player. I'm still going Mabrey. Most likely to be a first-round pick. I chewed on this one for a minute, and because it's Mabrey Mettauer. It's Mabrey Mettauer, but there was a scenario in my head where the NFL is kind of the ultimate. The NFL and the NBA, right? It's about tools. It's really about tools. Coaches are arrogant. Coaches at those levels are arrogant, and they think they can coach anybody out of bad habits if those people have tools, right? If you give me the tools, I'll figure it out. There's a non-zero scenario where Tyler Van Dyke has a great year this year. He kind of puts all those tools together, and we've already seen the NFL. They will take any quarterback with a pulse and a decent arm with like the 27th pick in the first round. It's a very low chance that Tyler Van Dyke could be drafted highly, I think, but it's also not a non-zero chance if he puts together a season because he has the physical tools that NFL GMs and coaches are going to be like, wow, like he can move? Maybe Miami was just a dumpster fire. He has a big arm? We can work with this. But it's still Mabrey Mettauer. Most likely to become a first-round pick. It's Mabrey Mettauer because of the physics, the size, because he still has youth on his side to continue developing and growing because of the improvement he showed from his junior year in high school where he threw several picks, had some decision-making issues, to his senior year where he only threw 1 pick. I think you've seen progression from him at the high school level, at the highest level of Texas 6A football. Now he's going to be going into this system here. He's already got reps. Some nice reports on Mabrey as well. This is Longo's guy. He enrolled early. I think he is the most likely out of this group to be a first-round pick. Highest floor, that's Braedyn Locke. And that's not I should have used a different word than highest floor, because whenever you say highest floor, people take that as like a backhanded compliment. It's not. It's not at all. The highest floor speaks, you can call it safest, but it speaks to being able to understand what you need to do with the ball, fluently understand the offense, make quick decisions, be accurate, be intelligent. All the intangibles that every successful quarterback has really ever had is what it speaks to. And I think Braedyn Locke excels in all those areas. We've seen it. We've heard coaches talk about it. We've heard Brady Collins talk about it. We've heard his high school coach talk about it. He checks a ton of boxes that, quite frankly, you can't succeed at quarterback if you don't check those specific boxes. And I think the arm is still pretty good. It's not that he doesn't have any physical tools either. He can sling the ball. He can move okay. He's pretty solid in the pocket. Braedyn Locke is an interesting player. And when I say highest floor, it's not meant as a backhanded compliment. He's a guy who is going to be able to execute the offense. He's going to make the right reads. And I think he has enough to be successful at this level. So I have highest floor with Braedyn Locke. Biggest reason for optimism for me, we talked about in the first segment, the biggest reason for optimism for me at the quarterback spot is the fact that I think you have 2 options. A lot of teams don't have one. I think we potentially have 2. And that's got to make you optimistic as a Badger fan. You have Braedyn Locke, who was thrust into crazy tough situations last year. Iowa, Ohio State, Coming back bigger and stronger, understand the offense even a little better, and then you bring in Tyler Van Dyke, who I think is more of the type of quarterback Longo wants, and a guy who's had success. I've talked about before about how we need to be careful with Tyler Van Dyke. Like there's been issues there, but he's also had some really successful years. So I think if you're going to be optimistic about the quarterback spot, that's why. Biggest cause for concern, I think it's consistency, right? I think you're bringing in a quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, who's had a bunch of different offensive systems, has never really been able to develop consistent rhythm over the course of his career. He has a reputation for making inconsistent decisions, throws, forcing plays. Is he going to fix all that in one offseason? Probably not, right? And then you have Braedyn Locke, who last year would throw a couple great balls and then would throw a ball into the dirt, would throw the ball off a defense, get the ball batted down 2 or 3 times in a row. I just think there's still going to be growing pains, right? Maybe that was a better term than inconsistency, but I think my biggest concern is these are still flawed quarterbacks that still don't either have enough reps in college football, Braedyn Locke, or enough reps in the system to make me think it's going to work perfectly. That would be my biggest concern. Player I'm most excited for, it's Mabrey. I've been a big Mabrey fan since he committed. I liked high school film a lot. He was on the show. His dad was on the show. Really cool family. Like talking to both of them. I like the way he's wired. I mean, I really like the way he's wired. He talked about the one interception and how much it like frustrated him. He had one interception his senior year, and he was like, "Yeah, this is what happened on that play, and it bothered me, and it ticked me off, and I shouldn't have thrown that one." And I'm like, "Bro, you had one interception. Like, I mean, that's incredible." So I like the way he's wired, and obviously I've talked about the physical skills. The other guy I would say is Cole LaCrue. If he could get healthy on the field, I would love to see him. I'd be super excited for him. Not only because of what he's gone through in life, like he's had a lot of challenges. Lost his dad, led a subpar team in Colorado to the state title, played hurt, had a really hard time getting recruited, had to kind of really sell himself to a couple programs, came to Wisconsin, then lost the coach that recruited him, and then transfers came in. Listen, the best one's going to play at all points, right? This is not like a sob story or anything like that, but I would love to see him get some reps. I like the way he's wired too. So, yeah, it'd be Cole LaCrue as well, but Mabrey Mettauer is the guy we're all excited about. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, and we're going to grade the position for this year and grade the position for next year, plus give a final stats prediction on Tyler Van Dyke, who I think will be the starter. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Monopoly Go. Monopoly Go is the modern twist on the classic, ultimate, classic, gather the family around the picnic table board game. It's awesome. It's so much fun. Right now, you can download it from the App Store or Google Play. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. My favorite part about it is honestly playing with friends, because that's what it's all about, right? Wrecking other people's boards, vaults with your friends, climbing up the leaderboards. That's what it's all about over at Monopoly Go. And you can play a bunch of different boards at once. That's another great part about this. You don't got to wait just for like your board and your people's to come over. You can play a bunch of dynamic boards at the same time on Monopoly Go. Go check out what we're all doing on the Locked On Network. Download Monopoly Go for free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, let's keep going here. Finish up our quarterback talk. Put it in the comments. What are your thoughts on the quarterback grade for this season? So I'm going to grade the quarterback room for this season, F to A to F. A, you think they're going to be incredible this year. F, you think they're going to be a disaster. And then I'm going to grade the quarterback room on the future. What do I think, looking at what we have in the room right now over the next 2 or 3 years, how optimistic am I? Again, A through F. Put your comments, your grades in the chat. We'll loop back and answer those and get those onto the show. We always do. All right, I'm going to start here. My grade for this season, I'm going to go C+. I'm going to go C+. And I recognize that might feel a little harsh, considering I just spent parts of the show saying how excited I am about that duo at the top. I think we look better coming out of spring. But I also think there's very real scenarios here where this doesn't work very well. Tyler Van Dyke has been inconsistent. He has had issues throwing the ball or throwing the ball consistently to the right spots. Braedyn Locke was up and down last year. Truthfully, here's what it is. We don't have a guy we can point to and say, I know he's a difference maker in the toughest games of the schedule. We don't. You can't say that about either of these guys yet. Could they be? Yeah, they both could be. But they're coulds. They're not for sures. And it's hard for me to give this quarterback grade like a B plus without saying that we don't have anybody we know for sure, right? We have question marks, and they're question marks with good potential outcomes. They're question marks with good physical tools. They're question marks with great intangibles in the case of Braedyn Locke. But they're still question marks until you see them consistently do it in the Big Ten, consistently do it against better defenses. So I'm at a C plus. Maybe that's harsh. This is definitely a grade that could go up, right? If Tyler Van Dyke plays the way we think he could play, if he puts it together, by the end of the year, this could be a B plus. But I'm going to go C plus right now, because if you told me at the end of the year that Tyler Van Dyke didn't play very well, it was super inconsistent, turnovers in really bad spots, and then they went to Braedyn Locke and he had some really nice moments, but then he also had a couple stretches against more athletic teams where he got overwhelmed a little bit, that one shocked me. So that's why I'm going to say C plus. I feel like at the end of the year it could be higher though. Grade the position for the future. So looking at everything that we have committed in the room, plus the 25 commitment of Landon Locke, how do I feel about this position? How do you feel about the quarterback position looking over the next 3 or 4 years? I'm going to go a B plus on this one. This one I'm much more bullish on because I love the Locks. I think you're getting, again, talking to their high school coach, you get a lot of insight. They're wired to be football guys. And I think the younger one is a little bigger, stronger, with a better arm than Braedyn. And then I think Mabrey Mettauer, I think potentially is an NFL type of quarterback. So I like the future. I like those two guys, along with Braedyn Locke, which you're still going to have for a couple years. So the future I'm pretty high on. I have it as a B plus. Coming into this year, I have a C plus. And then my Tyler Van Dyke stat prediction, because I think he's going to be the starter, I'm going to go 2,800 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks. So 2,800 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks, which would be kind of his second best season, right? He's had more than 2,800 yards at Miami. He's had more than 26 touchdowns. But that's my stat prediction there. Anyway, that's our quarterback preview coming out of spring. I feel better. I still think there's questions. I like the fact that we have two guys, and I'm pretty bullish for the future. Let me know where you're at on the quarterbacks coming out of spring practice. We're going to do every position, get some special guests as well on Wisconsin. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk later.